I love the idea of saying that I sped run this thing, but I'm asking questions. I'm seeking advice from the best wrestlers in the world, right? So they treated me like an equal.
Downtime in the ring.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Downtime in the Ring. Now, this week, we have a very interesting guest. We have a guest who has been thriving on the independents, and you've probably seen him in a couple of other places. And for the most part, when I usually say that, people are thinking like a 10, 15, 20-year veteran. But this man's only a year older than me, ladies and gentlemen. We have the one, the only, the Bodega Boy, Jarett Diaz. What's going on, brother?
I'm here, man. The Bodega Boy, the closer, suntan Superman, however you want to refer to me. I love it. I appreciate you, throwing a couple flowers my way. I'm ready to chat whenever you're ready, dude. I'm here.
Oh, dude, this is awesome, man. So like I said, dude, going into your background and seeing, where you've gone, I mean, you can't not give yourself flowers. I mean, WXW, saw that little vlog that you did, taking a picture with Shibata, being on AEW Dark a couple of times, like, my guy, you got to give yourself some praise there, dude.
I've done some cool things. I'm really fortunate to be, I'm only 5.5 years in, and to have been able to do all of the things that I've been able to do so far is like just checking little boxes that I started to create when I first, I guess, started this journey. I'm blessed, man. I'm very fortunate, and there are a lot of people that are in twice as long as me that never get to do the things that I've been, fortunate and sometimes just lucky enough to be a part of. So trust me, that definitely does not get lost on me.
You've gotten to face, at least from what I've gotten to research, you faced two of our previous guests, two people who are very close to the pod, Eric Adamia and Myron Reed. And I'm like, man, I need to see those matches.
My match with Myron, I loved wrestling Myron. I can't wait. I got to do it again at some point. That guy's nasty. And then Erica is on her way, and you know exactly what I mean. And a lot of people know exactly what I mean when I say that.
Oh yeah, dude. And so, it's crazy to see, even the group of people that you associate with yourself with through your social media. I see a lot of the time that you've shared a lot of O'Shea Edwards. You shared his theme that was made by Montezi, who we're partnered with.
Yeah, I was just on the phone with O'Shea a couple hours ago. That's one of my ride or die dudes. We were lucky enough to meet and go to WXW Germany together. We recently finished a UK tour earlier this year in March. We're heading back to the UK in September, which I'm going to be putting out publicly very soon. So I'm excited about that. That's one of the dudes, and it's a mystery how that guy's not contracted somewhere full time, because the talent, the charisma, the experience, the knowledge that guy has, not aside the look. Dude is a friggin' tank.
Yeah. But I mean, even yourself, man, like you're getting up there, you're creating your moments, and I've seen the companies that you've been working with being 5 years in, and it's so weird that you said that, like 5.5 years in, because normally, talking to a lot of young wrestlers, everybody says that they're green from the first year to the 5th year, and then after that, you should know what you're doing. But sure, you kind of like just speed run through that with, I mean, even with talent too. And we can't take away the talent. You are an athlete. You are built. Like, it's crazy, man. Luck's the word that you could say.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Maybe I hit some sort of genetic lottery. I didn't hit the jackpot though, right? I'm not Braun Breaker, but I've been gifted a few athletic abilities and genetic, let's go with benefits, right? Here's the thing. I love the idea of saying that I sped run this thing, but what it really was that I stepped into an environment that forced me to learn, to improve at such a rapid pace. Like, and I talk about this sometimes on podcasts, but I don't really go into a lot of detail talking about it like in person, or it's not like really big on my socials or anything like that at this point. When I went to college the first time, I went out to Anderson University. I played football there. It's D2. I played quarterback over there, but just for 1 year, right? A couple months before that, a couple months after that, I dipped my toes in this. This was 2014 and 2015. I dipped my toes and just got started at Creative Pro Wrestling, and that's where I attribute my initial training with. But following that, this was now, fast forward after community college to 2018. I moved to Florida. I pack up my Jeep and just put everything that I can in there. I drive 22 hours to Orlando, Florida, and I start going to school at Full Sail University. And when I was at Full Sail, not only did I start, jumping across Florida, learning wrestling at a lot of different places, right? WXW, the Samoan School. I trained with Jason Cade, who is a second cousin and a really, really good independent wrestler for some time. And Serpentico at the Dudley School, Matt Seidel's, and a whole bunch of different places. But I also interned at the WWE Performance Center as a broadcasting student. And that was really where I got to learn at double speed, because even though I was there as a broadcaster and I was sitting in booths and sessions with Caleb Braxton and Tom Phillips and Johnny LaQuasto, like that was what I was there for. But anytime I was at a Florida Loop, Coconut Loop house show, or backstage at NXT TV tapings, I'm listening, I'm asking questions, I'm seeking advice from the best wrestlers in the world. I'm talking Keith Lee, Dijak, Adam Cole, Gargano, the best wrestlers in the world, who were just generous enough to understand that they don't have to gatekeep, and they don't have to avoid people like me. Somebody who is getting into this industry, knows he's not at a real place to have a conversation with you, but still just wants to learn, right? So they treated me like an equal, while also treating me as one of their students or one of their mentees. So I was blessed to have those conversations. I was fortunate enough to have those conversations, but I also, as a student, earned my way into that internship. And so for that, it is a combination of hard work and good timing.
I saw somebody post that, being just a wrestler, especially nowadays, ain't gonna get you anywhere. Like it won't. You can have the best match in the ring, but if you don't also give something to another promotion that they can use, be it, learning how to edit your own promos, learning how to promote more, doing all of that. The fact that you got to broadcast, you got to be a broadcast intern, which, one, I'm super jealous. Two, that, that has to be just a ton of amazing memories going into that. It's so cool to see that, like, you have taken these opportunities, and I hope that there are a lot of wrestlers that are still younger than us that will watch this episode and be like, I can train in the ring 4 or 5 times a week, but if I don't learn something else, then what am I really doing? Because that doesn't mean that a promotion's going to just be like, oh, hey, you're cool, let's have you for one show. Oh, you can't really do much more.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being here.
You're 100% right. I think that from a promoter standpoint, it's not just about like, oh, can you have a good match? It's what do you bring as a skill set, as an entity, as a property to my promotion? And I don't blame promoters for thinking that way, because they're trying to run a business. This is a business. Pro wrestling is supposed to be business, and maybe not every promoter is as professional as others, and that's totally just the world we live in pro wrestling. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, you can't just bring in-ring ability. You could train in the ring a ton, but at the end of the day, we live in a content world. And I know it sounds a little bit douchey to refer to it that way, but everything is content, right? Mm-hmm. This podcast is content. It's competing with the TV show that's on at 8:00 on Wednesdays that is wrestling related. And I don't need to say, because everybody knows what it is, right? Like, you can't just get in the ring and expect to be plucked out of obscurity. You have to put yourself out there. You have to create content for yourself. You have to make yourself a commodity in more ways than one. And when it came to broadcasting, like I did school radio when I went to community college, and I realized that was a passion of mine to get into sports broadcasting. And I was able to, like I said, go to Full Sail University because it had this relationship with WWE, but it also had a sports broadcasting program that I could go get a degree in and make connections with people who work in the industry, who've worked at ESPN and Fox Sports and NBC and all the places that I would one day dream of working at, right? You have to hone a skill set more than in more ways than one, and you have to hone more than one skill.
I hope a lot of young wrestlers, and I'm gonna push this to a lot of young wrestlers, especially here in New Mexico, because we have a lot of schools. We're starting to get to the point where we can have multiple companies here in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Wrestling's thriving. Not a lot of people have wrestled here. So
well, I gotta come out there. Come on now.
See, I'll hook you up, man. Let's go.
Back in 2019, I had one of the worst days of my life. Actually, in a week span, I decided I didn't want to be here anymore. But after I came out on the other end, I realized that there were so many people, especially in this business, that were struggling with some of the same things I was. And a lot of times there is this mindset that we can't really share what we go through, and it's up to us to fight these battles alone. It's almost as if it's TMI to tell people what you're going through and what you're dealing with. And that's when I started hashtag TMI, hashtag tag me in. Because every single day we are in a handicap match with depression, anxiety, stress, life, bills, whatever may have you. But nobody said it had to be a one versus all. If you have people out there that genuinely care, that genuinely want to see you win, that genuinely want to see you succeed, that genuinely want to see you live, tag them in. They're here to help. And that's what TMI is all about.
Listen, I'm down. I got people in Arizona, I got people in Nevada, but I'm yet to be in New Mexico.
So. Dude, we probably know the same people. That's awesome, bro. So I love
that. I love the West scene. I love the Vegas scene. I go out there 2 to 3 times a year and go wrestle for FSW, and like people out there like Chris Bay, who's like an incredible. Brittany Brooks is a homie. Bodie Young Prodigy, that kid is going to be phenomenal. And already is really dope. There's Vandegrift, Jordan Oasis, like there's a lot of good talent out there in that region, which is why I love going out there. So New Mexico, I'm headed your way.
Oh, dude, we got to do it. Either not this year or the beginning of next year. We got to do it some way.
I'm down.
So one thing that I respect a lot, and I look that you are from the Bronx, is just the work ethic that a lot of our previous guests who are from that area, Philadelphia, New York, all of that, just like the
cities, man.
the work ethic that you guys have, man. Like, how was that growing up, you know, being an athlete, and then what got you into professional wrestling?
So in regards to the work ethic, I mean, that comes straight from my father, my grandfather. My grandfather and my grandmother came from Puerto Rico to the Bronx in the late 1950s, and they had 4 kids already. They had their 5th, who was my father, once they got here. But how do you feed 4 kids as an immigrant couple who doesn't speak a ton of English? You just work. You find all work and every work that you can. My grandfather landed at a pharmacy and worked there until he was in his, this was, mind you, I think he was 30 when he got here, and he worked until he was about 65, 70 years old. That's a long time to work in a pharmacy, to run, you know, to run a place like that by the end of it. And, you know, would walk a couple miles to get there, a couple miles to get home. That's work ethic. That's that carried on to my dad. My dad was a cop. He was a homicide detective, then a narcotics detective during the crack epidemic in New York City. So between 81 and 2001, he was a police officer. And what is that? That's work ethic. That's going in for the grind. That's trying to, you know, provide for a family in the busiest, most hectic city in the country. And the reason I think that you see a lot of the places like Philadelphia, New York City, and Boston, and you can say that's a work ethic guy, is because these are the cities where if you don't work and grind, someone will outwork and outgrind you, without a doubt. And if you don't make it in this city, you get chewed up and spit out somewhere in a Midwest suburb. And we were not having that. we are born and bred in New York, and we ain't going nowhere unless the right opportunity comes about. So I think that's why the work ethic is so distinct here.
Looking into your like history, I was like, man, like this guy doesn't stop, and it's fun. It's exciting seeing that. I know a lot of people and lot of interviewers are going to be like, oh man, I had to go through all this crap just to get some questions. I'm like,
glad
man,
you did the research, man, because
yeah,
not everybody does.
yeah,
Trust me, not everybody does. I'm not going to name names. I don't have to. You know who you are out there. Some people just don't do the research, and that gets to me because for somebody like me, for example, who provides all of the things that I'm doing right on my socials, right, all the shows that I'm on, all the things I'm up to, non-wrestling wise, the matches that I've had recently, the match that I have upcoming, I try to put that out so that everybody has access.
yes. Like the Puerto Rican Day stuff. I was super excited for that because we had a Puerto Rican Day festival last weekend that my coach wrestled in
Cool.
Lubbock, Texas. It's just cool seeing like how much pride you guys do have for that. Seeing Damian Priest and Zelina Vega go into the parade.
Amazing.
How did it feel?
Thinking about it right now.
How did it feel being in that match for House of Glory?
It was outstanding. Look, okay, it's a little bit layered, right? So take you back a couple years. It's early 2019. I'm maybe just getting on the road into like the Tampa scene, like West Florida, right? Western Central Florida, right? Into the Panhandle, a little bit of Georgia, a little bit of Alabama, but still very, very new with this, very green, less than a year in at this time. But I want to get out there. And I said it earlier, nobody's going to pluck you out of obscurity and put you in a position. I was out of my depth, but I'm emailing and Facebook messaging, DMing every company that I can and seeing who will take a chance on me. One of those places is House of Glory. It was 2019. They answered, but all they said was, we're not interested in young talent at this time, right? Which basically means like, hey, we don't know who you are. Go make a name for yourself. Go get some experience. I'm cool. Totally understand, right? Fast forward these last 4.5, 5 years. And I meet Mike Santana. I meet Santana at We Are Wrestling about a month ago, or maybe a month and a half ago, late April. I had a title match against Rob Killjoy and Dan Moff, and I held my own. Moff kicked my ass, and I asked for more. And if you know who Dan Moff is, or any of the listeners who Dan Moff is, he is a Ring of Honor original and an absolute beast, a bastard of a man who will put anybody in the ground just for looking at him funny. And I went face to face with this man. I asked him for more. And after that match, despite losing, Santana just said to me, hey, I liked your stuff. Good job out there. That's all. That's all it was. But I took that as an opportunity. I said, okay, Santana has this Puerto Rico show coming up. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm right here in New York, and I feel undeniable in this moment to House of Glory.
Yeah.
So I go to a Hog show. I remind him who I am. I go meet the people in charge. I'm fortunate enough to have somebody like Sam Laterna and Jay Lyon, advocate for me with the people who run the place and just say, hey, he's good people and he can go. Sometimes that's all it takes. Just a person who's willing to advocate for you and your work. And a little while later, Santana hits me on Instagram, says, yo, let's get this thing going. Shoots me his phone number. We chat a little bit, and there's the opportunity. And you want to talk about pride, right? Somebody seeing Damian Priest, Zelina Vega in the Puerto Rican Day Parade, amazing. I got a chance to walk in the parade last year, and it moved me to tears. This year, though, I wrestled at Puerto Rican Weekend at House of Glory, a position with my home crowd, surrounded by people that look and talk like me. And that was a moving moment for me to step in the ring and feeling those goosebumps. You know, The Rock comes up real close to the camera, goosebumps. That's how I was feeling. And to do it with a couple of people that I've known for a long time since I moved back to New York in 2020, and to perform on that much of a platform, it meant the world to me. And I can't wait to do it again because House of Glory has not seen the last of Jarett Diaz. I can tell you that much.
Honestly, dude, it seems like nowhere's seen the last of Jarett Diaz, dude. You are all over the place. Like, I'll say it again, dude. I'm interested to see where I'm just gonna scroll my feed and see you next. Because it's gonna be somewhere just I'm like, oh yeah, you know, that makes sense. It'll be in California, in Alaska, probably. I have no idea. You're just gonna all over to the place.
I have a hard time staying still. I moved a lot in my life, and I attribute that ability to, or I guess I attribute that part of my conditioning to have given me the ability to pack my car up and move to Florida on a sort of on a whim for the right opportunity with college and with wrestling. Like, if I wasn't able to do something like that, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today. So sometimes it just takes getting up and going.
It's awesome to hear that, you know, even though you trained with a lot of different places in Florida, that your heart still seems to just be focused on Create Pro, and then seeing the names that have come out of Create Pro and who currently owns it and runs it. It's like, damn, man, you
Without a
took the
doubt.
chance.
Without a doubt. And that's the look. I've been to a lot of different places. I've trained in a lot of different places, and I've enjoyed a lot of working with a lot of different trainers. I really have. Creative Pro Wrestling is the best wrestling school in the world, bar none, period, end of story. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. And you could argue it. There's a lot of places that have put out a lot of really solid wrestlers over wrestling's history. But if you look at the wrestling landscape today, and you look at MJF and Chris Statlander and the Acclaimed, that's it. You don't even have to look at all of the other quality talent that's come out of there. Don't count me. Just look at those four, and you will see the skills that you develop there aren't exactly replicable at every other school. So I co-sign Creative Pro 10 times out of 10. I'm yet to actually work a show there, which is crazy because I just haven't come across, I haven't, I guess, pursued that opportunity just as much as they haven't pursued me for that opportunity. But when we can get that done, I'll be very proud to have done it.
Oh yeah, that would be an amazing thing, even if for you know, like how they do like the toy drive shows and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
It's just being able to do it.
And I have a relationship with Pat Buck. I have a relationship with Brian Myers to a lesser degree, but you know, they know me, I know them. Alex Reynolds as well, who was one of the head trainers at the time when I was training there, and it'll happen at some point. But right now, I'm just really focused on growing my brand, getting my name out there all around the country, and internationally at this point has been a focus as well.
It's crazy that you say that. Like I understand what you mean. You know, we're trying to grow our brand too, but you're making it sound like, you know, you're 2-3 years in and nobody knows who you are, instead of looking through your feed, looking on your Instagram, trying to find every little thing. And I'm like, man, he has been everywhere, and there's still more places you can go.
In a world of wrestling, we bring to you the WSN app, only on Roku.
Donovan, I move as if nobody knows who I am, and I'll probably do that for the rest of my life. It's crazy. You know what? It's sort of a name droppy story, and I don't tell it. I'm gonna tell it. In 2017, late 2016 or 2017 summer, because it was really hot, Cody Rhodes, who was Ring of Honor World Champion at the time, full blown in Bullet Club, everything is fine mode, runs a seminar down in Georgia where he lives at AR Fox's school. And he's running this seminar for $25. How many wrestling seminar posters have you seen where it's somebody from back in the day and it feels or looks like a cash grab? And everybody's got to make their money, and I understand it. And for a lot of people, they will still take something from that. I'm not trying to devalue or discredit that.
Yeah.
But when I see a $25 seminar from one of the best wrestlers in the entire world, who at that point was effectively the king of the independents, right?
Yeah.
Wrestling for New Japan freely, wrestling for Ring of Honor freely, and every indie that he wanted to, running a seminar for $25. So my stepmother, who was a flight attendant at the time, I asked her, I said, hey, can you get me on a flight real quick to Atlanta? I have an opportunity to go learn some stuff. And this was before I was wrestling full time. Like I said, I had dipped my toes. I had trained a few months down at Creative Pro, but I wasn't prepared to have matches or anything like that. She got me on the plane and I went down to Georgia just for the day. I went to the seminar, and the reason I tell the story, it has nothing to do with me learning down there. It's just the idea that when I went into the building, he says, "Hi, I'm Cody." He doesn't assume that we know who he is, even though he's there running the seminar and he uses his real name in wrestling. So like, even still, that level of humility never got lost on me. And fast forward a couple years later, when I get used at AEW for the first time and approaching him and, you know, ready to remind him and tell him the story. And he stops me, says, "Jarett from the seminar in Atlanta." 4 years after, blew my mind and forever will stick with me. The level of humility and personability that that guy has. So I try to learn from that and carry that as best I can.
Bro, I hope that. I hope so. I hope you come down to New Mexico and you just go, "I did your show," and I'll be like, "Yes," and it was awesome. I hope so, dude. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's an insane story, especially now, you know, with how many people do love Cody. And
Absolutely. I've been a Cody co-signer, man, for the longest time. That is one of the realest dudes I've ever met in this business.
You know, still trying to go through the indies and still just it doesn't seem that you're worried, which is so refreshing, because, you know, sometimes talking to people, they're worried that that contract isn't going to come, but you're calm, cool, collected. And that may be just the outside, and on the inside, you're like, oh, but it's refreshing, man. It's a refreshing take to see somebody who's just like, it'll happen when it happens. I'm gonna enjoy the ride till.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, I want to enjoy the ride. I grew up watching WWE, as did most wrestlers, right? That was the only product. But when I got more deep in my fandom and got more and more into watching wrestling, not exclusively as a fan, but also as somebody who wants to pursue this, I found everything else. I found the independents. I found Japan. I found Progress. I found WXW Germany and old Ring of Honor stuff, new Ring of Honor stuff, CZW. All of the world of wrestling started opening to me. I want to go to WWE or AEW or some form of fashion of wrestling that will pay my bills and I don't have to have a shoot job or, you know, worries about how I'm going to make rent or anything like that, right? Like, in my own time, I work social media for MVP, Jake Paul's company, with boxing and all of that. I don't want to have to do something like that one day. But until that day comes, I want to work the CZWs, the Ring of Honors, the Evolves, the Beyonds, the Chaotix, the Revolvers, all of the independent wrestling world that's still out there. I just want to enjoy the journey. I want to make friends overseas. I want to see new places. I want to enjoy all of that, because one day, I believe, one day, wrestling will pay my bills and wrestling will be my entire schedule. And then I'll enjoy those experiences, but those experiences are going to be completely different to what I'm experiencing right now.
Sometimes those experiences might be a little bit more stressful, but you'll get there when you get there. I saw that you had on your profile, excuse me if I get it wrong, it's Motivate Promotions. Is
Most
that what
valuable promotions? Most
valuable promotions. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So Most Valuable Promotions is the boxing promotion company that Jake Paul started. It is the promotions company that is putting on Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson in November. It was supposed to be set for July. It's moving to November. MVP also puts on prospect shows every few months, whether they be in Orlando or down in Puerto Rico. And every time Jake Paul has a fight, or one of Jake Paul's fighters under the MVP label is coming up, that's what we do for our social media. We boast on our fighters. We effectively cover anything that has to do with either Jake or Mike or any of the fighters underneath. So if somebody's on ESPN discussing Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, we're going to clip that. We're going to post it with our own take and things like that. So we're daily social content regarding Jake, regarding his team, and regarding most valuable promotions boxing.
That's insane, my guy. Congratulations on that spot. That's
It's
pretty
awesome,
cool.
man. It's a really cool gig. I really enjoy it. It gives me opportunities to go to cool things like the Boxing Writers Association of America awards dinner last week, which was like a super fancy shindig, and I got to interview one of the greatest women's boxers of all time, Amanda Serrano, who is on our MVP team, who is also a Boricua and from here in Brooklyn, and that meant a lot to me too, because these are experiences that I'm sharing with people who are like me, people who look like me and talk like me, and are athletes that are pursuing something that, or really are at a stage that I'm pursuing, right? Greatness in our own athletic field. So to be able to share dinner and share words with people like that, remarkable experiences.
With all the craziness that you are doing this year, what is something that you want to accomplish? What is something that you have for your goal list for this year? And I mean, you already came back from the UK. You're heading back to the UK. Like
Yeah.
for most people, that's a goal just to go on one tour. You're doing 2 tours in 1 year. What's something that you want to do for this year just to say that you were able to accomplish it?
Oh man, I try not to have I try not to have goals that are too specific. And the reason being is that I will feel, and I do feel this because I am human, I will feel let down if I don't accomplish it. I'll feel like I let myself down, or whatever audience I have down. That's frustrating, right? That can be frustrating to not achieve your goals. But even still, you have to be a goal-oriented person, or at least a lot of people do, in order to continue pushing. So something that I had on my goals list this year was to wrestle internationally, and I got to do that out in England. I'm going to do that again. But that doesn't mean that goal is finished. I have an opportunity to wrestle in Mexico at some point this year due to my friendship with Flip Gordon. I can wrestle in Canada at some point this year, as a lot of my peers recently have, like Dustin Flash Waller and Kylan King. They both went up to Canada, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. And I know they crushed it out there, and maybe that's an avenue for me to take. I want to continue growing on the things that I'm doing. And even though there are certain specific places that I want to work at, right? A West Coast Pro, a Limitless up in Maine. Like, there are places that I still have yet to check off the boxes. But it's really just a more broad goal, which is grow, get better, get more buzz, more attention, learn, get bigger physically. They're all things that I want to keep doing. And I think right now it's just to continue on the road I'm on, because I mean, if you're a person to believe, I think I'm doing all right so far.
If you could, just for a minute or two or however long, talk about how important social media is, because that's like my soapbox that every veteran in wrestling right now is saying how important it is. And then I see a lot of young wrestlers who are like, I don't really use it. And I'm like, this is free, my guy. This is literally how you get to where you want to be noticed. Like, can you just explain the importance of social media?
Happy to. Let me talk to y'all people who think you're too cool or too old school for Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Your entire audience is on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So it really doesn't matter how you feel about it. That's the end all be all, right? If you don't want to do it, you're now limiting your reach to the people that show up at the shows that you're at. You want your crowds to grow? You want more people to show up to the show you're at? Get them to follow you on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, because these are the people that want to have access. They want to have that connection. If social media is initially for connection, it's become for advertisement, right? Like I said earlier, we live in a content world. I work directly in social media. Everything we put out is for engagement, is for access, is for that connection between audience and content creator. Currently, if you are making content on Instagram and you're a pro wrestler, and it could be whatever you want it to be, as long as it's something, what you're doing is filling out a billboard for yourself. Right? You went to my Instagram and you saw all the places that I wrestle at. You saw the promo pictures that I put out, some of the things that I work at with MVP. You're seeing all the things that I do. Why? Because I'm putting it all out there. Some people are a little bit apprehensive about putting their lives out there. You know, maybe they're just a little more private people. I understand that, right? You don't have to put everything out there. You don't have to put your personal life out there. But if you want to make a living in wrestling, you have to learn how to engage with an audience and grab somebody's attention in 10 seconds. If your promo has a really bad start, you lost them. They're out. But if you can get used to that by putting the reps in, and that's not just getting in-ring segments, because how many wrestling promoters do you know that have more than one in-ring segment, talk segment on a show? More than one?
Yeah.
Never happens. Never happens. So how many promo reps do you really get if you're not shooting it yourself, editing it yourself, putting it through the steps, the rings of feedback, and then posting it on your social media for the world to see? If you're not on social media and you're a wrestler in 2024, you're doing it wrong.
Thank you. I'm going to clip that. I'm going to put it all over the place. I'm like, please guys.
And have me in it, because that's a billboard piece for me too.
Yes, because oh my god, guys, like that, what he's saying is true, and it doesn't matter how you grew up. And we've had a couple of people who have said, you know, maybe when they were in, you know, as they were growing up, maybe they got bullied and that's why it was going into. We're all grown adults at this point, and if our goal is like the AEWs, the WWEs, they're not going to see us unless we show them something. This isn't back in the territory days.
Absolutely. It's a line I say all the time, and it's something that often comes up on podcasts. Nobody's going to pluck you out of obscurity. You have to put your face out there.
I think we just found the title for this episode. I'm going to say that. I think we just found the title. Cool. So let's get a little bit away from wrestling and let's just talk about you as a person.
Sure.
Please answer this question correctly, please. So I saw the Knicks love, and unfortunately I saw the Yankees gear. Please tell me it's a Jet and not a Giant, right?
It's a Jets household. It will always be a Jets household. Let me just I have had this New York Jets mini helmet on my bookcase or shelf over there, and I've owned that little helmet since I'm maybe 6 years old. I've been a lifelong Jets fan. Let me say this, though. I'm a lifelong Jets fan and a lifelong Knicks fan, but I am not the biggest baseball person. I have that Yankees gear because everyone hates the Yankees. And when I lived in Florida and I got my first set of gear, which was a hand-me-down from Jason Cade, it was just a bright, sparkly pair of green bikers with black stripes on the side. I had no character, I had no presentation, but I had a green Jets hat that matched the gear. And I was in Florida. So when I'm wearing my New York Jets hat and they don't even know my name yet, all they're doing is, "You suck, New York. I hate you, New York." Okay. That's getting reactions. I'm listening. My first set of custom gear, Yankees pinstripes.
I know. I was like, honestly, when I saw it, I was like, man, he's giving off Aaron Judge energy, and I don't like it at all. So I mean, it did its work right there from just seeing the picture.
100%. That's the point, is to get you to care about me, whether it's loving me or hating me, before you even see me wrestle.
And it worked. It worked so well. Yeah, my biggest worry was because I try to make friendships with everybody that we've had on, try to keep these relationships going. But I was like, bro, if he's a Giants fan, that's going to be a little tough. I'm a Cowboys fan, so I mean,
sure.
Rivalry there.
I've been a Jets fan my whole life. I can honestly say I've had a lot of love for a lot of the things that the Cowboys have done historically. And in my lifetime, I was a big time Tony Romo fan. And it seemed like as the team was just about to turn a corner with Romo, with Des Bryant, there go the ribs. And Romo was never the same again. And here comes Dak Prescott. And I like Dak too, but there was a little window between, I want to say 2012 and 2015, that was a good window. And now the Cowboys have just gone right back to what they are, which are first round, second round exits.
Yeah.
Good team. Not hating, but they are what they are.
Des caught it. I'll always say that.
Oh, he absolutely caught it. And who am I to say, as a Jets fan, we haven't made the playoffs since 2010.
I mean, y'all have a good chance this year, seeing the strength of your schedule and
I like
going
where we're
into.
at. I really
and-
like where we're at. It's a young team, a very talented team, guys like Sauce and Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall. And if it's led by Aaron Rodgers, if it's led by a level-headed and healthy in the feet Aaron Rodgers, we're a genuine AFC contender.
Yeah,
He's
his
the question mark. The Hall of Fame quarterback is the question mark. That's a weird spot to be in.
yeah, especially because he's going up against one of the members of the defense that took him out last year on the same game at the same time slot. So I have more faith in y'all than I do this year for myself. I think we're going to blow it this year.
The Jets are just as likely to go 13-4 as we are 4-13. That's the weird spot we're in.
Yes. There's no in between. How does that feel? And
you know what? I'll tell you how it feels. I got my girlfriend to finally start watching football this year for the first time. She had never previously watched it, and she knows that I'm big into it. We had just started dating just before the season started, and I got her to watch all year. And she was watching, and she's like, "Man, we're so bad. That guy Wilson, he's terrible." And then we got to the Super Bowl, and she watched the Super Bowl, and she was like, "I think I like football. This is so much fun. The game is so good." Like, all right, cool. It's just we're the problem. We're the problem.
Yeah.
So it's what's the feeling? Disappointment.
Disappointment. I mean, your Knicks, they did pretty good this year.
Obviously. Hey, if we were healthy, we're a championship team. We're taking the Celtics to 7 games. Even if we lose, we're in that conversation if we're healthy. Because they swept the Pacers, and the Pacers were not as good a team as us.
So for a little bit of NBA Finals, and this will come out after the finals anyways, who's your pick as we are currently recording? It's game 3.
Oh, I picked the Celtics since the season started. I wasn't happy about it, but once they picked up Porzingis in that trade and Drew Holiday, I said, yo, this team is too loaded. I love watching Luka, and I like Kyrie too. Kyrie has his haters. I like watching Kyrie ball. He has one of the smoothest games in a generation. But the Celtics were just too loaded. There's just too much. And they picked up 2 first-round picks in that Porzingis trade. They somehow fleeced the whole league with that one.
See, I love this part. Sports fans, I love talking about sports, man.
Always love it.
So, as we begin to wind down, where can everybody see all of your social media?
Man, as long as you spell the name right, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter /X at the Jarett Diaz right there. You can find me on TikTok at Jarett Diaz right there. Admittedly, not as active on TikTok. TikTok's a different place, very Gen Z-ish, very
doom scrolling,
zillennial, right? It's just a lot of scrolling, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm there if that's your preferred social media. You can catch so many of my matches on YouTube. I literally have a playlist on YouTube called My Matches. So if you just want to see Jarett Diaz go to work and beat a little ass, that's where you'll see it.
Sounds good. So, final question of this interview. It's interesting. It's always interesting seeing what people say. So, in 5 years, where do you see yourself?
In 5 years, I see myself making a drive from Buffalo to Rochester on a house loop tour. That's where I see myself. And I'm paid. I am working as hard as I can. I feel like I'm thriving, and I'm living the dream. That's where I see myself in 5 years. And if I'm wrong, hopefully some wrestling equivalent.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this was our episode with the Jarett Diaz. You guys can go and follow his amazing journey on all of his socials, which we will have down below in the description. Thank you, brother, for being here. We really appreciate that. Hope to have you down in New Mexico soon, because I would love to see one of your matches. Love to have another interview in person. Maybe we could have some tacos with it. And I can't wait to see what else you do, man. I'm really excited.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the platform and the opportunity. I just want to say this podcast has been super fun, and I'd love to do it again, whether it's in person or online, a little ways down the road when I have more things that I've done to talk about. I wish you the best of luck with the pod, and I hope that you got out of this what you wanted to.
I did. Thank you. Thank you.